My name is Leif Hetland, and I'm the president of Global Mission Awareness. I'm married and have 4 amazing children and 1 son-in-law.
Awesome. All right, so I'll just jump right in. And the first question I have is, what is the proper way to go about ministering to someone who you have discerned has an orphan spirit?
The first thing, as soon as I pick up the orphan heart or the orphan spirit, let me just first describe. An orphan heart can sometimes be different than an orphan spirit. An orphan heart is primarily somebody that doesn't have a home. And what I mean with that is they don't have a place of security, they don't have a place of love, they don't find their value. Often they get based upon what they do instead of who they are. So with that, there's a spirit that is attached to it. If you have a place that with Papa God where you find secure, where you know that you're loved and you're accepted, then you start to love and accept yourself. And then you can love and accept other people. But if you do not have that, that orphan spirit is coming in. So they are looking for love and acceptance, often in the wrong places. And it's either based upon what I do, religion, or rebellion. They're struggling with sin issues constantly. So then what I do is I'm making sure to going into the root issue, what causes this, so that I bring the perfect love of the Father there, so they can know, first of all, who He is as a Papa. Not just Jesus, because Jesus in itself, if He doesn't bring you home to the Father, then you can still have this Father issue. Jesus will bring you to heaven, but it does not necessarily bring heaven to you. So the whole purpose for Jesus was to restore you back again to the Father, where you then have a place of security, love, value, and purpose. So I would find what is that root issue that causes this in people. And then in the next moment, I will bring the perfect love, because it's always rooted in fear. If you know there is fear, and you know there's restlessness, they always feel you have to do something. That's a typical sign of that orphan heart and the orphan spirit. But when I've heard releases the perfect love of Papa, and then releasing also the rest and the peace of their Father, so they can be at peace with Him, peace with Himself, then you can have peace with other people. So then I would ministering those things of the Father to them, and many times also give them a Father's blessing into those areas, because that's many of them never had a father that just believed in them. They believed in God, but they didn't know that God believed in them. So when I release that, and then release His perfect love to take away fear, and then there's an invitation. Actually tonight I'm preaching on it. There's the invitation of the Father, both for the prodigal sons to come home and brothers to come home. The brother is the religious, the prodigal son is the rebellious, but both of them were sons. But none of them lived a life in the home with their Father, in His presence, in His peace. So if you don't have a home, you're going to be out there trying to find your identity and thinking, well, if I'm out there doing this for God, then I will find myself, then I will be valuable. Or the other ones is the rebellion, because pain seeks pleasure. They're looking out there to find something to meet their need. So, but then I bring them home into the Father's presence, where they find peace, where they find love, they find the security and value. So that's pretty much what I do. As soon as I detect that, I release love, and then I release peace into their life, and I bring them back home to Papa. And when they find out how good He is, then they see how much love they are. And when they find that love, then you can start to love people. You can have a lovely world.
Awesome. And then the next question is, if you could go back and tell your teen self one thing that you know now, what would you tell them?
I would have said, and I don't want this to be misunderstood in the sense, but I would have a much more fun.
Yeah.
I think that when I was a teenager, you try to, the best way I can describe it, as a teenager, I was trying to constantly, if I do these things or do the right things and make the right choices, it was so much, and it was actually rooted in fear. Now it's pretty much, the best way I can describe it is that life is almost like climbing a mountain called destiny. On the way there, I would say, wow, look at that flower, look at that rock. It's all those small things I could experience every day. And my focus was so much when I graduate high school, and then goes to college, and then I get a job, and then I get married, and then you have children. I mean, get into ministry, and then travel around the world, and then change the world. You get so focused on constantly what you need to do next instead of what you need to be next. So instead of having a to-do list, or what I need to do, a to-be list. Be love, be joy, be peace, and just focusing on the small things, and every day to enjoy that in the fullness, and not get so focused to grow up and to focusing on what's next, but to be able to enjoy every moment. So I think that's probably the biggest. I just will live full in every moment and enjoy the fullness of life, and that means both with God and myself. Just seeing that He's already well pleased with me, I don't need to do all these things. And then out of that, it's like going out playing ball. but not to be so worried about if I'm going to score or not score.
Mhm.
Just knowing that the Father is well pleased with me, that I'm playing and I'm having fun. And I believe you score twice as many touchdowns in life if you live from pleasure instead of pressure. And what I mean with a pleasure, meaning that He's already pleased with me. I already have an A+ before I take the exam. So as a result of that, I can live with the spirit of excellence, and I can have fun while I take the exam, because it is not so much focusing on what is going to be the result. It matters just that my Father is well pleased with me, and as a result, I'm pleasing to Him by the way that I take the exam.
Awesome. And then the final question is, if you could go back and meet anybody in the Bible besides Jesus, who would you meet?
I think I would like to meet David. I've been very fascinated by David.
Yeah.
And just because I know this sounds a little strange. One of the things that fascinate me, I'm writing actually 3 books on him. One is called Giant Slayer right now. That's coming out with a publishing house in March.
Mm.
But because I do want to raise up all these giant slayers, people that can face the giants in life, every area of life. But the thing that fascinates me with David is his life looks like this.
Yeah.
If you take the bottoms, it looks like a crown.
Mhm.
And what I mean with that is, David, in a sense, you can see even the Psalms. In one moment, oh, you're my God, I earnestly seek you. Oh, is this one thing I desire? And the next moment, oh God, why have you forsaken me?
Mhm.
But then the way the heaven sees him, the way God sees him, because he was real. David was very real. He was authentic. He played a harp, so he learned to be a worshiper. He learned to seek a thing. He learned how to use a sling, so he was a warrior. So the balance of learning, how do you become going into the present, into the secret place, learning how to be a lamb and learning how to be a lion. So I learned to see how big God was in the secret place, worship. But then the way he faced everything else was different. So I think I would spend some time with David and just hanging around him. How did he take care of sheep? How did he practice that sling without an agenda of killing a giant? That just became the byproduct. How did he play a harp? And how did he learn how to play a harp to change the environment and being in the presence? So I would spend some time in the presence with David, but I would also take time out there learning and see the skill set, what he had in his heart, but also what he had in his hand. And I wanted to learn both of those 2 things from David.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's all the questions.
Okay, that's awesome.
Sweet. Thank you.
Did
so
you
much.
get some clarity?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.